1300 222 774 is the number to call. Sometimes that's the best way for not only us, your emergency broadcaster, but also some emergency outlets to also hear exactly what's happening in those communities, just like the conversation with Faye from Harcourt just a short time ago this evening. 0437 774 774 is the text line. And Jamie is in Bacchus Marsh. G'day, Jamie.
Hey, man, how you going?
I'm all right. You're offering a bit of help?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've only got a 4.5-ton truck, but, I imagine a lot of people are short on resources, or as someone earlier mentioned, the stock scenario, if they've got small hobby farms, etc., that needing sort of feed and whatnot moved to actually get to them to make sure they've at least got something. So I was basically offering my truck essentially to transport what they needed to kind of keep them going for a short period of time.
This is exactly the sort of help that's going to be needed in the days to come, isn't it, Jamie?
I would imagine so.
Well, we'll take down your details and perhaps we can help share the good news, share your big-hearted gesture. Jamie, thank you for sharing it.
No dramas.
Jamie from Bacchus Marsh, attempting to help in whatever way he can, as I'm sure each of our communities will be trying to do in the days to come. And once we can take stock of exactly what's happened today on a day that we will be remembering, this 9th of January 2026. I was just chatting a moment ago with the Forest Fire Management Victoria, of course, and one of the fires that we have been watching throughout the evening, one that had an emergency warning attached, now downgraded to a watch and act, stay near shelter, which is still a very serious warning to be issued by emergency.vic.gov.au, is the Meredith fire. It's burning just slightly west of the Meredith township, just south of Buninyong, outside Ballarat. Martin Peters is a resident of Meredith and a local farmer. G'day, Martin.
Oh, g'day. How you going?
I'm all right. How are you? How's your property?
Feeling a lot more relaxed now. So first up, calling me a farmer will probably get some funny looks from the neighbours. We're only a hobby farmer, a little 50-acre block, but we do have the same problems as everybody else, obviously, of managing livestock and what to do with them. And so at about sort of 4 o'clock, when it really became apparent it was quite a serious fire, it was all a bit scary, and we were moving animals into paddocks with minimum amounts of vegetation to try and reduce the fire risk, and making sure they had access to a dam and that sort of thing. And meanwhile, sort of packing up all the really important stuff and the dogs. And my wife disappeared off into Ballarat to stay at my daughter's house. And so, and for a while, it was quite scary here. It was really windy, smoky, and then it started sort of snowing ash, and you start to realise what you might be letting yourself in for. But fortunately, and then at that stage we got the stay alert, and they went to red on the app telling us that it's too late to leave and to stay indoors. And I see just in the last hour or so it's now gone back to orange and sort of stay alert and be prepared. But it's hopefully that means that the imminent danger is sort of eased a bit now.
What was your bushfire preparation plan like, Martin, when you were faced with the possibility that you wouldn't be able to leave and you would have to then stay? What was going through your mind?
Oh, so really, it's the thinking about the things that, if the worst case scenario happens, what am I prepared to lose? What can't I lose? That sort of thing. And we'd sort of done the packing up computers and obvious things like sort of passports, birth certificates, all that sort of thing, and put that all in a big box. So that just headed off with my wife into Ballarat. So then you just sort of think about your personal safety side of it, I guess. And I suppose we're fairly fortunate, and we're a brick house with a steel frame and an iron roof. So the sort of the odds are in your favour for sheltering indoors there. It's not like a weatherboard house or and so you sort of feel relatively confident that if you're outside and you've got a hose pipe and you're trying your best, if all else happens, if you go inside for a fire front, you're probably not in a terrible situation.
Yes, and certainly this is one of the few good news stories in relation to downgrade of fire conditions in Victoria. Martin, will you be changing anything locally then ahead of next summer?
You always have a little bit of a panic of trying to round up all of the hoses you can find, and perhaps you ought to be a bit more organised and have a hose hanging on every tap and that sort of thing. And and I didn't have the tank on the back of the ute. Perhaps I should have had the tank on the ute ready, given what the forecast was. So there's always a few things that you think, yeah, being a bit complacent probably isn't a good idea living in the climate that we live in.
Well, Martin, I appreciate you talking to us tonight, and I'm glad that we're speaking under the circumstances that we are.
Yeah, it's certainly, I'm going to sleep a lot better now than what I thought I was going to a couple of hours ago.
Yes, certainly. Thank you.
All right, cheers. Good talking to you.
That is Martin Peters, who is a Meredith resident and hobby farmer. I don't want to get him in trouble for calling him anything else. It's only 7 minutes away from our next bulletin of ABC News. My colleague Steve Martin's going to be with you after that time, so you'll be hearing from him shortly. But before we move any further, we spoke just a few minutes ago to Faye, who shared her heartbreaking story defending her home in Harcourt today, which has been one of those communities hardest hit by the catastrophic fire conditions. Well, Grant is from Harcourt and is in Castlemaine. G'day, Grant.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm fine, but how are you? How are you, Grant?
I don't really know, to be honest. I watched the fire sort of developing from home this afternoon, and having not been in this sort of situation before and felt quite safe where we are, and then I went outside and it was getting closer, and I started hosing down the house. My partner was in Bendigo and is still there. And I did that for a while, and then the sort of last message came in basically saying, the wind might change soon and it's going to come directly across to Harcourt. So I left and came across to friends in Castlemaine, and I've heard various reports of what's happened in Harcourt. I know exactly the area which I know has definitely been affected, which is extremely sad. I think where we live is okay, but I don't know. I did try and get back there earlier, but I can't. But where I'm standing, Mount Alexander sits just above Harcourt. It's a very favourite place of mine. I walk up there every weekend and it's amazingly wonderful. It's tinder dry, unfortunately, and the fire did get across to Mount Alexander, and while I was talking to my partner on the phone before, I was looking across to part of the mountain. I could see the fire on part of the mountain, and in a matter of seconds, I watched the whole top of the mountain just light up, and it's all aglow right across the top. So obviously the whole mountain is on fire, which is terribly sad. There's a lot of wildlife up there. There are properties on the other side. Harcourt's a really lovely place. It's quite a small community. Lived there for 5 years, love it passionately, and probably love it even more. I don't know what's happening until I get home tomorrow, and but I think our house might be okay.
Okay, so perhaps your house might be okay when you return tomorrow.
Yes,
but it's going to be a challenging experience, even if your house is fine. Returning to that community, I'm sure, Grant.
Yeah, it will be awful to see the destruction that's been left behind.
Have you heard from other community members as well? Have you spoken to
my neighbours? I've run into my next door neighbours a couple of times this evening, and they basically had the same information as me. They left before me. Part of me wishes I'd stayed, but then it would not have been a wise thing to do. I've never been in a situation like this before, and I've had fire plans before. I didn't have one for here, but I will certainly have one now.
No, it's small comfort. This was the same when Rosemary called this program earlier, and just her heartbreaking story of watching the live feed of her property be affected by the fires near Eildon.
That's terrible.
And it's small comfort, but you have done exactly the right thing, Grant.
Yes,
the same as Rosemary in preserving your life first.
Yes, and I ran into down near I went for a walk before because I just needed to go out and do something, but I ran into a woman who had 3 dogs, 2 cats, and was with some other family members, and they were also from Harcourt, but they lived right up the back near the orchards, which is very, very vulnerable. But they were in an old farmhouse. They were of the understanding their house they think was okay, but again, they can't get back there, so we don't know. But anyway, look, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for keeping everybody informed, and I hope everybody else is safe everywhere.
Thank you, Grant. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
That's Grant, who is from Harcourt but is taking refuge in Castlemaine tonight. The incident controller for the fire at Harcourt, Michael Masters, says that they are receiving reports of 1 fatality at Harcourt. A number of houses have also been destroyed, as we've heard this evening from not only Grant but also Faye before, who has spent about the last 6 hours defending her home from fires. She was successful in doing that, but many of her neighbours' properties succumbing to the blaze. And that's why we're here with you now, throughout the day and for the rest of the evening, in continuing this rolling coverage of what has been a catastrophic day of fire conditions. In a couple of minutes, Steve Martin will be joining you after the news to continue this coverage. Steve, hello.
G'day, Matt.
A challenging day across the state, Steve.
Very challenging day, and just trying to get your head around what's happened where and what is still happening where is going to continue for us to be a bit of a challenge after 10 o'clock. So like you, Matt, I'm looking to hear from people on our talkback lines and on the SMS, and I will be mentioning them many times. After the news, though, I'll tell you what, we are going to have a chat to the Weather Bureau, because this wind change has come through some parts. It's not going to push through to others for a fair while yet. So we'll get the latest from the Weather Bureau on all of that. We'll talk with the State Control Centre. We'll run through all of the updates of all of the bits and pieces as well.
Steve, have a good program. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
That is Steve Martin, who is continuing our rolling coverage here on ABC Victoria. We are your emergency broadcaster on ABC Victoria and ABC Melbourne. Thank you for your calls and texts tonight. Rolling coverage can only provide so much without your input, and you can continue to do that with Steve. A massive thanks to my producers this evening, John Standish and Pat Hills, the rest of our team here as well, from Shelley, Tyson and Julie and everyone else. Stay safe. It's 10 o'clock.
ABC News, good evening. I'm Noni Edwards. Victorian authorities remain on high alert as multiple out-of-control bushfires continue to burn across the state. Peter Quattrocelli reports.
More than 60 active fires have been burning across the state, with evacuation warnings in place for multiple towns. 3 people, including a child, are still unaccounted for in central Victoria. The trio were told to shelter in place as it was too late to evacuate, but the house was later found destroyed with no sign of them. Several other properties have been destroyed by blazes, with a change in wind posing a challenge to fire crews. While conditions have eased slightly, authorities are warning of another dangerous fire day on Saturday. The CFA has extended a total fire ban for the entire state until midnight Saturday night.
Residents evacuate emergency. Please tune into your local ABC radio station for the latest updates and information. Fire authorities are urging communities, particularly landholders and farmers, to check their properties for smouldering hotspots and grass fires following any lightning activity. The extreme heat and strong winds affecting much of southern Australia increase the risk of dry lightning when storms produce lightning but little or no rain reaches the ground, allowing fires to start unnoticed. Jason Heffernan from the Country Fire Authority Victoria says property owners should remain vigilant and act if they see any signs of fire.
I have it confirmed that we are expecting the potential for more dry lightning. And again, we are asking community, if you have had dry lightning across your property in the last 24 hours, please check your property. And if you see smouldering fire or the like, contact 000.
In other news, South Australia's Research and Development Institute says it's already looking into environmental causes of the harmful algal bloom. This week, the algal bloom parliamentary inquiry heard from ecologist Faith Coleman, who said some government workers were asking to delay investigating causes of the bloom for political reasons. But SARDI head Mike Steer, along with senior public servants across departments, has refuted any knowledge of that. He's told the inquiry the agency's been working with Adelaide University to untangle and unpick environmental factors in the bloom.
That work is ongoing, and I'm pushing very hard for that team to deliver that information as soon as possible because it is a fundamental part of our understanding of this bloom.
Internationally, at least 4 people have been killed and 19 others injured in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv following another night of bombardment from Russia. John O'Wakely has more.
Ukrainian officials say the fatal Russian drone attacks have inflicted considerable damage on dwellings and infrastructure. They say one of those who died was an emergency medic who had arrived at a suburban apartment hit by 2 drones in succession. Meanwhile, in the western region of Lviv, critical infrastructure has been damaged. Ukrainian media has been reporting that the missile used on Lviv may have been a hypersonic Oreshnik, which was first used in the war against Dnipro in November 2024.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has criticised the protesters involved in Iran's most serious unrest for 15 years and said his government will not back down. The BBC's Joe Inwood reports.
The protests that began with shopkeepers in the capital now seem to have spread to much of Iran. It's hard to know exactly what's going on because of a countrywide internet blackout. But the BBC's Persian service has verified footage of massive crowds in Tehran and other cities. Other videos show people chanting "Death to the dictator." The man they refer to as the supreme leader. And Ali Khamenei has now spoken, calling the protesters vandals and saying they want to please Donald Trump.
In sport, Ruby Roseman Gannon has taken out the elite women's criterium at the Road National Championships in Perth. Roseman Gannon fought off Alex Manley in the final sprint. Her teammate Josie Talbot was third. The elite men's criterium's underway in Northbridge ahead of the road race through Kings Park. You're listening to ABC News.
Streaming live on the ABC Listen app, on radio and on your smart speaker. Steve Martin on ABC Radio Victoria.
And good evening to you. Steve Martin here for the next few hours, taking you through this evening on ABC Local Radio across Melbourne and regional Victoria. And thank you to Matt Tribe for getting us through the last few hours. Like Matt, we are going to hopefully be hearing from you. If you can tell us what's happening where you are, what the situation is. It may help someone understand who's not in their usual area, what has happened, what the situation has been. Might help us understand what's going on as well, and that will inform some of the questions we ask people at the State Control Centre or the Weather Bureau, things you need to know. So our talkback line is different to the one Matt has been using. We're on 1300 303 468. 1300 303 468. It will be a number familiar to regional Victorians, but we will continue with the Melbourne-based SMS system. So 0437 774 774 for your text messages. If you can share some information, let us know where you are, what's happening in your part of Victoria. If you're close to the fires, you can see the fires. If you've had to escape the fires, would also like to hear from you. So 1300 303 468 and 0437 774 774. Sarah is on the phones, so I am hoping to be able to talk to some of you this evening over the next little while. We are going to talk to the Weather Bureau in just a moment. We will catch up with the State Control Centre and I will run through all of the latest updates and the situation around parts of Victoria with these fires. So I'll give you the updates on the fires that started a couple of days ago, the ones that have sprung up today and are still causing issues and threatening communities. So that's all coming up. But lines are open. Our SMS, of course, is there. And as I say, I'm hoping to hear from you and get some information and share a bit of what's been going on around Victoria in the last 12 hours or so. Power back on at Huntly north of Bendigo. So there's a little bit of good news. We have been hearing from the power companies. That's something that we will keep on top of as well as we go through this evening. 1300 303 468 is our number, or 0437 774 774. Let's start this hour of the program by heading off to the Weather Bureau. Alana Cherney is our forecaster at the Bureau. Alana, good evening.
Good evening.
It's a wrong end of the day for me. I might end up saying good morning to a few people, but we'll get through all of that. With the weather, a lot of talk about the change that's coming through, or has come through some parts of the state. So where are we up to with that change and winds?
Yeah, so that's right. We've been watching this cool southwesterly change move in behind these hot northwesterly winds. So the change passed through the western parts of the state during today to early this evening. And then we're now seeing a band of thunderstorms move through in those southwesterlies, extending from Westmere and down to the Surf Coast. At the moment, we're also seeing a band move through western suburbs of Melbourne at the moment. Mm-hmm. The cool change has now moved through the Longwood fire area and extending down through Gippsland, approaching Orbost and that area, really getting into East Gippsland now. However, in the northeast of the state, we're still seeing these very hot conditions and these strong north to northwesterly winds, and that is likely to linger overnight and into tomorrow morning. So places like Albury are really only likely to see that change come through at 5 a.m. and even later, 8 a.m. into the far east or northeast of the state tomorrow. And with that, as we see those warm northerly winds, we still have a severe weather warning for damaging winds for the alpine regions in the east of the state, and also still extending into Gippsland. And that is covering some ongoing significant fire areas, including that fire around Dargo.
Righto. So, and those winds that are coming in behind the change now as it comes through, are they doing what you were expected? We were hearing about there could be some gusty periods, some winds sort of not necessarily just turning to the west. Have they behaved the way it was expected?
Yeah, so that's right. With that southwesterly change, we have seen some gusty conditions, so it doesn't make things simpler necessarily. And as well as that, now that we are seeing these thunderstorms come through in parts of the southwest, thunderstorms bring gusty, erratic winds, and so they can make very difficult firefighting conditions as well.
I'm just watching this line of storms on the weather radar stretching from about, from what I can see, Stawell down towards Lorne, and they look pretty intense, that line of storms.
Yeah, we're certainly getting... we are seeing quite a lot of lightning, and with that, because it is still quite dry, with that lightning, there is the ongoing risk of dry lightning and further fire ignition. So that is the main concern with that lightning coming through, as well as those gusty winds, which make it difficult in terms of fire spread and firefighting conditions.
Okay, so the main thing for people to be aware of at this point is those storms and the dry lightning, but also the wind change as it moves slowly further into the east and northeast.
That's right, and for those in the northeast, it will be another warm night, and so we're still seeing heatwave conditions in those parts of the state, although it has eased for much of the rest of us. Being aware of that heat as well and those impacts until that change comes through.
Rightio. Alana, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Alana Cherney, forecaster at the Bureau of Meteorology, and there are those storms showing up on the weather radar, but also the change that is pushing through slowly, and it shows up on a couple of the Weather Bureau's sites, but it's going to take a very long time to get into the northeast of the state, where there are still quite a number of emergency warnings current. So it is time to run through all of the emergency warnings for you once again.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Now, bear with me. This is quite a long list, as I'm sure if you've had the radio on for a while, you will be aware that there is quite a bit of information here. So our EB team has patient in a little bit more detail. So we'll do that in a few minutes' time. Now, first up, ABC radio and TV services in the Bendigo area are currently off air, and our transmission provider is aware of the issue. In the meantime, you can hear emergency coverage on 774 AM for ABC Radio Melbourne or 594 ABC Wimmera. You may be able to pick up ABC Ballarat as well on 107.9 FM. The Bendigo community station, Phoenix FM, is also kindly rebroadcasting our coverage across the Bendigo metro area. That's on 106.7 FM, and they'll be doing that for the rest of the evening. So if you're listening on the app and you have family members in and around that area that need to keep up to date with what's going on, and you know that they're not app users and they will be relying on the FM or AM radio, pass that information on to them so that they will know where to go. Phoenix FM in Bendigo, the community station, is rebroadcasting ABC's coverage this evening. That's 106.7 on the FM dial, so right up the top end. Now, to the Longwood update. There are several warnings in place for the fire, which has burned south of the Hume Freeway at Longwood in the direction of Alexandra and Yea. There are emergency warning take shelter now messages in place for an area extending from the Hume Freeway at Loxley, east to Bonnie Doon, south to Buxton and Glenburn, and west to Yea, including Strathbogie, Yark, Flowerdale and Alexandra. In this large area, the safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It's too late to leave. So that wind change we've just been talking about, expected to cause the fire to change direction in the northeast, heading back towards Strathbogie. Conditions will become dangerous and unpredictable. Further south, a little bit of better news. The warning in place for the area around Marysville has been downgraded to watch and act monitor conditions. However, conditions are changing quickly, so you must pay attention as that Longwood fire is not yet under control. Watch and act warnings surround the emergency warning areas. People in Kinglake and Euroa should prepare to leave. The emergency relief centres are open at the Seymour Sports and Aquatics Centre. That's at Chittick Park in Pollard Street, Benalla Town Hall, Lilydale High School and Whittlesea Civic Centre. The Skipton fire, some better news around this fire for Karen Ballock, Skipton, Streatham. It's been downgraded to watch and act monitor conditions. The bushfire at Yalawaipora Road, Streatham, that's not yet under control. So that's travelling from Skipton in an easterly direction towards Pitfield. Firefighters have been able to slow the spread of that fire for now, but this can change at any time and the situation is still dangerous. So you must monitor conditions and be ready to act. To the east, the warning for Linton, Scarsdale, Ninting, Bull and Cape Clear has been downgraded to an advice message. So a relief centre is located at Beaufort Community Bank Complex. Victoria Police are also working to establish further relief centres at Ballarat and Ararat, and when we get news of that, we will pass that on to you as well. Now, north of Castlemaine, there are several emergency warnings in place for a fire burning to the north of Castlemaine. The grass fire travelling from Ravenswood in an easterly direction across the Calder Freeway in the areas of Ravenswood South, Harcourt and Barker's Creek. It's too late to leave. You must shelter indoors. To the east and south, you should leave immediately. This includes Faraday and Sutton Grange. Relief centres are open at the Kyneton Sports and Aquatics Centre and the Bendigo Showgrounds in North Bendigo. It's accessible by Holmes Road. Further east, including Reedsdale, you should leave now and travel north towards Bendigo via the Sedgwick Road or south towards Kyneton via the Sutton Grange Road is the advice. For Walwa, in the northeast of the state, still multiple emergency warnings are in place extending from Bunjil to Corryong. There's an updated emergency warning, leave immediately, for the Mitta Valley, including Tallandoon, Eskvale, Mitta, Dartmouth and surrounds. The bushfire is moving in a southerly direction from the northern end of the Tallangatta Valley, so leave to Wodonga using the Omeo Highway to Lockhart's Gap Road. If you're in, is it Coatong? I'm not sure of the pronunciation of that one. Derbyshire and Shelley, there's an emergency warning to take shelter now. The fire is expected to impact this location imminently and is threatening homes and lives. It's too late to leave the area safely, so you must take shelter now. For the area that includes Corryong, Bigara, Toowong, and south towards Mount Morgan, there's also an emergency warning to take shelter now. The bushfire's moving in your direction. If you're in the Tallangatta Valley and Balayo, it's recommended you evacuate immediately and move to a safer location away from the fire. Go to Tallangatta or Wodonga on the Murray Valley Highway. Now, another emergency warning to evacuate immediately has been issued for the area, including Bigara, Toowong Upper and south of Mount Morgan, as well as a large area south of the fire area, including Dartmouth, Middamidda, Eskdale, Tallandoon and Tom Grogan. So there are relief centres at Tallangatta Memorial Hall or at Wodonga Racecourse. Now, Wonangatta. The Wonangatta Valley in Gippsland, there's a fire continues to burn to the west of Dargo. In Wonangatta and Mount Selwyn, you should leave immediately. To the south, including Dargo, you should take shelter now. The bushfire's travelling from Wonangatta Road in a southeasterly direction towards Kobana. I hope pronunciation again, Cabana, is correct. To the south and east of the emergency warning, watch and act, prepare to leave messages are in place, including for Stockdale and Glenaladale. A new watch and act monitor condition warning has been issued for Carlisle River, Mount Murray, which is to the west of Gellibrand. The bushfire is travelling from Mount Murray in a northeasterly direction towards Gellibrand Valley Road. There's a watch and act monitor conditions warning that's been issued for an area to the east of Gellibrand and south of Kawarren. The bushfire is travelling from Lardner's Track in a northeasterly direction towards Ridge Road. There's a new watch and act monitor conditions warning that's been issued for Kennedy's Creek between Sheepyard Track and King Track. The bushfire is travelling from Sheepyard Track in a southeasterly direction towards King Track. So that's another one. There's a watch and act stay near shelter message, which is now in place for the fire burning towards Meredith. That's still not under control. The relief centre is open at Bannockburn Cultural Centre. And there are several watch and act warnings around Natamuck, Quantong and Vectus. Natamuck residents and those in areas west of the Wimmera River who've remained at their property should stay alert overnight. In the north of the state, the fire near Cobram is at watch and act monitor conditions around the Benalla Tocumwell Road. However, to the east of that, there's still a watch and act prepare to leave message. The grass fire is travelling in a southeasterly direction towards Catamatite. A relief centre is open at Apex Park, 43 Campbell Road, Cobram. So there's another one here now. There are watch and act warnings in place for the Big Desert, including Patchawallock. So you can find a full list of the warnings information in your area via the Vic Emergency app or the website. You can keep listening to ABC Radio. We'll have another full update on all the warnings in about half an hour. And that list there covers most of the key issues for the state that are current at the moment. 1300 303 468 or 0437 774 774 is the number for texts.
Streaming now on the ABC Listen app.
You're with Steve Martin on ABC Radio Victoria.
There's a couple of SMSs. Tiger says, can you confirm the TV transmission from Bendigo? The tower's been hit with the fires. I was listening to the ABC and it lost signal and the other stations. I believe they are fire affected. How badly, whether it's just some of the transmission or the electricity system going up to the towers or whether it's the towers themselves, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't managed to get myself across that, but I know there is some damage there. That's the problem with transmissions around Bendigo. Mac in Bendigo, again, I don't know. It says, will the Mount Alexander mast be out of service all night? Got no ABC in the car. So, Mac, I'll just go back to where I started with all of that. If you're around the place, you can use the app, of course. But if you're in and around Bendigo and you're relying on that Mount Alexander service, 106.7 FM, and that's Phoenix FM in Bendigo. You may be lucky there, or you might have to go to the AM services, which is 594 ABC Wimmera, based out of Horsham, or 774 ABC out of Melbourne would be the options. Thanks so much. Found coverage on 594. Excellent. Good to know. Another one, Kuitong. Okay, I think that's a pronunciation correction for us. Now, John in Smythesdale. Hi, John. He says, we had to evacuate again. This time the fires didn't come close, but I guess with the wind and the way it was pretty unsettling, it's sort of a bit of a dry run for us, and it's a fourth time over the last few years and becoming more frequent. For people's information, he says Smythesdale's between Scarsdale and Nintingbourne, so as included in the warnings, we're getting more efficient in evacuating. Thank you, John, for your SMS. Just wanted to say thank you for the rolling coverage. I was in the fires as a kid. I live in Melbourne now, very safe, but I do always have a cry on days like this as the memories all come flooding back. The calm roll call of emergency warnings feels like a safe pair of hands, and hearing callers' stories in their own voice and in real time is a great comfort in these moments. It's a reminder that amongst all the panic and chaos and loss, there are also brilliant people, community, and even some whimsy. Speaking of people telling their own stories, if you can share some information with us and with listeners, information about what's happening in your area now, if the wind change has come through, if you've got a view of the fires from where you are, and if it's safe to do so, of course, I'd love to talk to you this evening. 1300 303 468. 1300 303 468 is the number for your calls, and there's always time to have a bit of a chat. There's also the SMS, which is 0437 774 774. Kevin in Mount Edgerton just sent me a message earlier saying, oh, welcome back for 2026. Yes, a bit earlier than I was planning, Kevin, but thank you. I did see your SMS a little while ago. Steve Pellicano is Forest Fire Management Victoria State Agency Commander and is our guest. Steve Pellicano, good evening.
Good evening, Steve, and to you and all your listeners, and welcome back from holidays.
Yeah, well, as I say, it's a bit earlier than I'd planned, but that's okay. Now, Steve, can I just ask for the latest on the areas you cover? Where do you want to start?
Okay, how about I start with what happened today, and then we'll go to some of the conditions tomorrow, and I'll give you an update on a couple of major fires.
Okay, that'll be good.
Awesome. So today was a significant day for bushfires right across the state of Victoria. We had declared a statewide total fire ban for the state of Victoria, with catastrophic fire endangers ratings declared for Southwest, Wimmera, Northern Country, Northern Central districts, and extreme in all other areas, which meant that today we had significant fire behaviour across the fires that we had on the landscape. So which meant that the fires had increased quite significantly and have caused community to ensure that we needed to ensure that they were aware and alert, and with a number of emergency warnings right across the state of Victoria. So it's been quite a significant day for both the fire agencies and for community with these fires.
From your point of view, I know it's been a disastrous day, but in terms of dealing with that disaster, because I know a lot of planning, a lot of preparation goes in for these sorts of days, Steve. Has your end, do you think, has it run as it should have run?
Oh, absolutely, Steve. You know, all fire agencies are prepared for these days. We do the utmost to ensure that all of our personnel, all of our vehicles, all of our infrastructure are ready to respond. And today was a perfect example of that. We had crews from Forest Fire Management Victoria. We had every resource available from CFA and FRV, and we worked collectively as an agencies together to ensure that we were active and responding to these fires right across the state.
All right, so let's talk about now. We've had a look back over today. Where are we up to now, Steve?
So with today's conditions, we've got 3 major bushfires across the state. So we've got the Longwood fire,
yep,
and that's at 145,000 plus hectares. We've got 400 firefighting personnel on scene with over 100 fire appliances, and the fire. We've responded to that fire, and we'll continue to respond to that fire because it has grown significantly. We've also got the Walwa bushfire going, and that's grown to 100,000 hectares plus, with 300 firefighters personnel on scene right now on that fire. So overall today, we've had a total of 38 going fires, with 267,000 hectares burnt across the state, and we've contained 11 of those fires. So that just tells us the enormity of what fire agencies had to face today. With those extreme winds, with that extreme weather, those fires just exceeded to grow quite exponentially, which meant that we had to respond, and we had to ensure that the community were aware of what they were facing. So the information on the Vic Emergency app was critical to ensure that community had a source of truth, to ensure that if they wanted to understand what was occurring with those fires, that they needed to ensure that they were going to the Vic Emergency app and getting the latest updated information of what was occurring across the state.
When you put it in that figure of 267,000 hectares overall burnt across the state at the moment, that it does put it in some quite dramatic context. I'm just looking at the map at the moment, Steve, and I'm seeing Watchinaks predominantly in the west of the state at the moment. Still emergency warnings in parts of the central and in the north and around the Longwood fire, of course, as well, and some emergency warnings to the east. So are you hoping that as this wind change comes through, that we are going to see more of these fires between now and daylight or sunrise go back to watch and act, or are those bigger fires sort of beyond that, I guess, at the moment?
Those bigger fires will continue to burn, Steve. The wind change may still cause some erratic fire. Those fires are burning really hot, and there's a lot of country there to burn. So they will continue to burn. The conditions will ease over the next period. So we'll have a cool change coming across the state this evening. That'll produce some thunderstorm activity, and there will still be a risk of damaging winds. But following from that, we'll have conditions that will ease across most of the state, with the exception of the Alpine Peaks until tomorrow morning. So the risk of those conditions, though the cooling of sort of the air or in conditions, but the fires will still continue to burn for quite some time. We are in it for the long haul, and though the conditions will cool and ease, those fires will continue to burn. We've had significant fire in the Otways as of probably in the last hour, where we've had quite a significant amount of lightning come across the Otways National Park, with some new fires popping up. And we'll continue to have new fires popping up due to that lightning ban.
So what do you want people to bear in mind for the rest of this evening and getting into tomorrow morning?
Yeah. What we're asking the community to do, Steve, is please have the Vic Emergency app on their phone. Please ensure that they're informed by local radio, local information, understand what is happening around your surroundings, and keep yourself informed. And if there's an emergency warning that's popping up on their phone, please don't just disregard it. Understand it. Have a really good understanding of what that message is telling you and abide by that message. We want our community to be informed. We want our community to be safe. These conditions, today were quite treacherous. We've had significant loss of property, and what we want to ensure that our community stays safe. And by doing that, we've got a part to play as fire agencies to ensure that we look at those fires and we contain those fires over a period. But we also want the community to be aware with what's going on around their surroundings. And the best way to do that is to ensure that they're informed by the information that we've provided them, ensure that they have the app, the Vic Emergency app, and keep local radio on in tune.
Just on those losses, is there a running tally? Do we know at this point, or has it not all been sort of pieced together from the different fires? Because we're hearing about building losses in Harcourt, in Ruffy, and that Longwood fire. So we're hearing various stories. Do we know yet?
No, we don't, Steve, and we're piecing that together. We've got nothing. We know that we've lost some houses and we've lost some property and infrastructure, and we're actually just doing some work around what does that look like. The conditions were so treacherous today, we couldn't get teams in there, so we're doing some work around investigating what are those losses.
Yeah. Rightio. Steve, anything else before I let you go that you want listeners to bear in mind?
No, all we really want our community to just be informed. Please be informed what's going on around you. Please be informed. Protect you, look after yourself. There's a lot of smoke right across the state. Please ensure you stay indoors and just abide by all those emergency warnings and keep safe.
Steve Pellicano, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Forest Fire Management Victoria State Agency Commander Steve Pellicano, and a bit of a run through of what's happened over the course of today, but just those stark figures. The Longwood fire at 145,000 hectares plus 400 odd firefighters working there, 300 firefighters on the Walwa fire. These are the two biggest ones, and 100,000 hectares burnt there, and all up across Victoria. The tally is about 267,000 hectares of ground that has been burnt. And I'm just looking on the Vic Emergency website as I sit here, and those fires in the Otways, there's quite a few watch and acts there now. There's 4 through the Otways. I will go through all the details for you again in just a little bit. There's the Streatham Caramballoch fire as well. Back to watch and act in the west. Once you get through in towards the Bendigo Harcourt area and the fire there, still with emergency warnings for Longwood, up around Dargo and the high country as well, and an emergency warning that are in and around the Walwa fire. So as the change has come in, been a bit of relief, but not so much in the north and east of the state. We'll have a chat with AusNet in just a moment. I just want to have a quick catch-up, if we can, with Mark Dorian, who's the president of the Harcourt Football Club. He's with us. Mark, hello.
Oh, good evening, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay. What are you hearing out of Harcourt, Mark?
Oh, devastation, mate. Yes, unfortunately, the fires have ripped through our town and our community, and we're, just in a state of disbelief at the moment.
So have you heard about specific damage that's happened in the town?
Look, yes, I'm not in town at the moment. I'm heading back to be part of my community in the morning, but certainly being part of the Harcourt Football Netball Club, we're connected with a big part of our community, and we do know of many of our members and their families losing properties, and at the moment that is our concern, and that's that's what we want to be here for our community. So yeah, it's been a devastating day.
Okay. When you say we want to be here for them and for the community, how do you have an idea of how you're going to do that at the moment, or is it just a bit raw?
It is a little raw at the moment, and we're still piecing together the complete devastation. We're unclear of our football club at this stage of the extent of the damage there, and but first of all, our priorities, our people and our community, and being part of that community is, we just want to be there for our members. I'm not sure how that looks at this stage. We'll get together as a group in the community tomorrow and reach out. But I suppose, I just want to relay to everyone in our beautiful town and surrounding areas that, our club, along with all clubs in the area, are here for our town in any way. And if anyone needs anything, please reach out to our club, and we'll assist in any way we can.
How big's the footy club? How many members? And I just wonder, as a percentage of the Harcourt community, how central it is to the heart of the community.
Oh, look, it is. The Harcourt Football Netball Club's been around 140 odd years, and we have 14 teams, and it's there for a lot of families, and hundreds of people are members of our club. But we feel everything that the community feels, and a good sporting organisation should be the hub of a town, and on a day like today, it's the town and the people that are most important.
Mark, can I ask? I imagine you're probably pleased you weren't there as the fire went through for safety and those sorts of things. But is it a little frustrating not being in your community, because it sounds like you're very passionate about it?
Yeah, yes and no. I I do want to be back. I experienced through Black Saturday, and what I took out of that was the beautiful compassion, the help, the generosity that was given to my family and myself after that devastating day in another town. And and it's those memories that now sit with me to realise what community is about. So yes, I do want to be back with the people.
Mark, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Cheers.
That is Mark Dorian, President of the Harcourt Football Netball Club, not a great afternoon for the community of Harcourt. Now, I should just say as well, I've had a few text messages, and we've recently realised there's something. I think our phones are call forwarded, so if you've been trying to ring through to have a chat, we're just trying to fix that at the moment. With the computer-based phone system that we have here. So Sarah's just trying to sort that out, because I do want to talk to you, but it's very hard to talk to you if you can't call us. So if you have been trying, I won't give the number out until we've managed to get the system sorted. So just thought I'd let you know that if you've been trying to get in touch with us. ABC Local Radio, ABC local radio across Melbourne on 774 on the AM band, and across all of regional Victoria. Steve Martin here with you through for the next few hours. And I think I can tell you now, 1300 303 468, I think I can tell you we've actually just managed to fix the phones. So if you do want to call, if you have some information you want to share, it would be lovely to hear from you, because phones are fixed. Karen Winsbury is the spokesperson for AusNet and our guest. Karen, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
What's the latest from AusNet?
Latest is we've got about 19,000 homes without power. That's down from a peak of 49,000 this afternoon, so that's great news. But unfortunately, that 19,000 is still a lot. 8,000 of those are actually in the sort of fire zones, so that's going to be a really difficult part of the network to restore. I can tell you a bit more about that, but we've got two main outages that we're focusing on at the moment, one in Beechworth and one in the Benalla region.
Okay. Let's talk about the fire-affected area in particular. So what are you expecting there?
So we've been essentially unable to get our crews in to investigate any of those areas. Some good news, at this stage we will be able to get a helicopter up into some of the fire damaged areas just to inspect the nature of that damage and plan for what that restoration looks like. We know that some places are really bad, and hearing some of the stories through your listeners is horrible, but we will be making a plan for the restoration of those areas, so those people whose homes have been preserved, we can rebuild the network and do that. But it will take us some time, but we will be able to start planning for that tomorrow.
Yeah, I was just about to say, for those repairs that you're talking about in those fire-affected areas, it's going to be days, not hours, to get power back on in some of those areas, if not maybe weeks in some circumstances.
Yeah, look, until we get in, we won't know that. But we have been planning for the nature of what that rebuild might be. We're already rebuilding some parts of our network anyway, just because of the destruction that there is. So we'll continue to do that in those areas.
Okay, now you said there were other outages, Beechworth and was it Benalla?
Yeah, Benalla. So there's a few different towns. So Beechworth and surrounds. So some other key towns in that area: Stanley, Bowman's Forest, and a few others. We had an estimated restoration time of 10:40 about now on our outage tracker, but we've had helicopters up sort of until the sun went down, and now ground crews out there, and they've identified quite a bit of damage. That's going to need specialised trucks and construction to come in at first light in the morning. So unfortunately the power won't be restored for those people tonight. It is likely to be much later in the day, perhaps as late as 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay. So is that fire damage or storm damage?
No, that's storm damage.
So it's from the winds and the like that we've had and some of the other associated stuff with the fires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And look, what I would say is that I was just talking to our control room. We are starting to see a bit of lightning activity across the east of the state. That usually causes a few issues as well. So I think we're not through this yet in terms of the weather impacts from this severe weather.
Rightio. Anything else before you go, Karen, that you want people to be aware of?
Just if you do have power now and you haven't already, make sure that you've got any battery packs charged, you've got spare water, and absolutely listen to emergency services, check the Vic Emergency app and heed any of those warnings. It's really important.
Okay. Just when you say charge battery packs and the like, is that because the power could come and go as repairs are affected over the next few days? Yeah. Thought so.
Yeah, absolutely. So if everyone relies upon their mobile phones, they don't have a forever charge, unfortunately. So if they've got battery packs, obviously they can go to other areas to get charged. But if a spare battery is always good to have.
Rightio. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Karen Winsbury, AusNet spokesperson, and the numbers are coming down, but some of those numbers are going to be quite stubborn. So from 49,000 customers without power down to about 19,000, just under 19,000 on their website at the moment, but some of those are in those fire-affected areas, so that's going to take some time to fix. I was having a look at the Powercore website as well. They have 22,992 customers off supply, largely in the southern half of Western Victoria. There's a few up around Shepparton and Yarrawonga Way by the look of it, and Cobram with the fires at Cobram as well. But there's a lot of people still without power across all sorts of parts of Victoria. We are going to have a chat about wildlife before we get to the news at 11, but I do have to run through some of the latest emergency information once again.
ABC Radio Emergency Information.
Rightio, there are several warnings in place for the fire which has burned south from the Hume Freeway at Longwood in the direction of Alexandra and Yea. So this is the updated information for Longwood. Emergency warning, take shelter now message in place for an area extending from the Hume Freeway at Loxley, east to Bonnie Doon, south to Buxton and Glenburn, and west to Yea, including Strathbogie, Yark, Flowerdale, Alexandra and Acheron, Limestone, and, well, this is going to test me, Fanregarwen. I'm not confident of that at all. It's terrible. I'll have to look it up, or someone can help, hopefully. Wanregarwen. Looks very much like a New Zealand name. But anyway, that particular location, I'm sure people who are in and around there will be rolling their eyes at my pronunciation, but you'll know where I mean. In this area, the safest option is to take shelter indoors immediately. It's too late to leave. The fire is threatening homes and lives. A wind change has occurred and impacted the fire ground. This has caused the fire to change direction toward the east, so towards Alexandra. Further south, a bit of good news. The warning in place for the area around Marysville has been downgraded to watch and act monitor conditions. However, conditions are changing quickly, so you must still pay attention as the Longwood fire is not yet under control, as we've been hearing for the last 40 minutes or so. Watch and act warnings surround the emergency warning areas. People in Kinglake and Euroa should prepare to leave. Emergency relief centres are open at Seymour Sports and Aquatics Centre in Pollard Street, Benalla Town Hall, Lilydale High School and the Whittlesea Civic Centre. For the Skipton fire, better news for the fires around Caranballock, Skipton, Streatham. It's been downgraded to watch and act monitor conditions. The bushfire at Yalawaipora Road, Streatham, is not yet under control. It's travelling from Skipton in an easterly direction towards Pitfield. Firefighters have been able to slow the spread of the fire for now, but this can change at any time, and the situation is still dangerous, so you need to monitor conditions and be ready to act. To the east, the warning for Linton, Scarsdale, Nintingbull and Cape Clear has been downgraded to an advice message. There's a relief centre located at the Beaufort Community Bank Complex, and Vic Police are also looking to establish further relief centres in Ballarat and Ararat. North of Castlemaine, there are several emergency warnings in place for the fire that's burning there. To the north of Castlemaine, there's a grass fire travelling from Ravenswood in an easterly direction across the Calder Freeway. In the areas of Ravenswood South, Harcourt and Barkers Creek, it's still too late to leave. You must shelter indoors now. To the east and south, you should leave immediately. This includes Faraday and Sutton Grange. Relief centres are open at the Kyneton Sports and Aquatics Centre and Bendigo Showgrounds in North Bendigo that's accessible by Holmes Road. Further east, including Reedsdale, you should leave now. Travel north towards Bendigo via the Sedgwick Road or south towards Kyneton via the Sutton Grange Road. Now, I know we've had a couple of SMSs that have come in recently saying some of the information is out of date for Harcourt. This is the latest information that we are getting from the incident control centres via Vic Emergency. So this is their most recent, or this is their updated information. So if it was issued a little while ago, we're reading it now because it is considered to be still current and still important. So just bear that in mind. The update for Walwa from just a little while ago, to the northeast of the state, there are those multiple emergency warnings in place extending from Bunjil to Corryong. Updated emergency warning, leave immediately for the Mitta Valley, including Talondoon, Eskvale, Mitta, Dartmouth and surrounds. The bushfires moving in a southerly direction from the northern end of the Tallangatta Valley. Leave to Wodonga using the Omeo Highway to Lockhart's Gap Road. If you're in now, this is one I'd struggled with before. I haven't had a chance to look it up. Kotong, Derbyshire and Shelley, there's an emergency warning to take shelter now. The fire's expected to impact the location imminently. It's threatening homes and lives. It's too late to leave the area safely, so you must take shelter now. For the area including Corryong, Bigara, Toowong and south towards Mount Morgan, there's also an emergency warning to take shelter now. That bushfire is moving in your direction. If you're located in the Tallangatta Valley and Balayo, it's recommended you evacuate immediately and move to a safe location away from the fire. Go to Tallangatta or Wodonga on the Murray Valley Highway. There are relief centres at Tallangatta Memorial Hall or Wodonga Racecourse. In the Wonangatta Valley in Gippsland, the fire continues to burn to the west of Dargo. In Wonangatta and Mount Selwyn, you should leave immediately. To the south, including Dargo, you should take shelter now. The bushfire is travelling from Wonangatta Road in a southeasterly direction towards Kobana. To the south and east of the emergency warning, watch and act, prepare to leave messages are in place, including for Stockdale and Glenaladale. To the watch and act warnings. For the fire burning near Meredith, that's been downgraded to advice. The fire's still not under control. The relief centre at Bannockburn Cultural Centre has closed now. Watch and act monitor conditions warnings been issued for Carlisle River, Mount Murray, which is to the west of Gellibrand. The bushfire's travelling from Mount Murray in a northeasterly direction towards Gellibrand Valley Road. A watch and act monitor conditions is issued for the area to the east of Gellibrand and south of Kawarren. The bushfire there is travelling from Lardner's Track in a northeasterly direction towards Ridge Road. A Watch and Act monitor conditions warning is issued for Kennedy's Creek between Sheepyard Track and King Track. The bushfires travelling from Sheepyard Track in a southeasterly direction towards King Track. There are several Watch and Act warnings around Natamuck, Quantong and Vectis. Natamuck residents and those in areas west of the Wimmera River who have remained at their properties should stay alert overnight, is the advice. In the north of the state, the fire near Cobram is at Watch and Act monitor conditions around the Benalla Tokumul Road. However, to the east of that, there's still a Watch and Act prepare to leave. The grass fire is travelling in a southeasterly direction towards Catamatite. A relief centre is open at Apex Park, 43 Campbell Road, Cobram. There are Watch and Act warnings in place for the Big Desert, including Patchawallock, and you can find a full list of the warnings information in your area via the Vic Emergency app or the website. So you can keep listening to us as well on ABC Radio. We'll have another full update on all the warnings in about half an hour's time. It's 7 minutes to the news at 11 o'clock.
A bushfire survival plan is where you have written out what you will do before, during and after a fire. Your plan should include how to prepare and make your property safe, when and how you will respond, and what you will do. Find more suggestions on how to develop and what to include in your plan at abc.net.au/emergency. And keep listening to your emergency broadcaster, ABC Radio.